home care package places that were promised, including 40,000 this year. Labor didn't want this, but the coalition made it happen. Is the minister aware that the Prime Minister took a deliberate decision to exclude him from all negotiations today between Labor and the coalition on these matters? And if the Prime Minister doesn't want the Minister for Aged Care in the room when the big calls are being made, why should any elderly Australian?
Order. We'll hear from the Minister for Aged Care and the Minister for Seniors.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Our government is proud to be delivering our once-in-a-generation reforms to the aged care sector that will see more Australians get better care faster than ever before. Now, the House has heard a remarkably considerable debate on this topic this week, and Minister Butler and I announced a short time ago that the government has reached an agreement to pass the aged care bill currently before the Senate. This is a fantastic outcome for older Australians and their families who have the certainty that more care is on the way. It's a fantastic outcome for the aged care providers who will deliver more care than ever before. And it's a fantastic outcome for the workers who work day in, day out, looking after the people that we love. Mr Speaker, the bill before the Senate is the final piece of the puzzle that paves the way for the commencement of the new Aged Care Act and our new Support at Home program.
Members on my left.
Throughout this reform process, we've taken a principled approach to the bipartisan nature of these reforms to ensure that they are enduring and meaningful for generations to come. And we're grateful to the opposition, particularly Senator Ruston, for their genuine engagement and commitment to work with us and to get these reforms right. The new Support at Home program will help even more older Australians to stay at home for longer and with a higher level of care so people can stay close to family and close to community. To keep up with increased demand, we'll now fast-track the release of more home care packages in the lead-up to the 1st of November. We'll bring forward an extra 20,000 packages in the next 8 weeks before the new Act comes into effect. And once the new Support at Home program comes into place, we will allocate the remaining 63,000 packages to older Australians in the first 8 months by 30 June 2026. Mr Speaker, this is a responsible decision that will deliver more care faster to the older Australians who need it most, while maintaining the prudent fiscal save that was a key pillar of our reforms last year. Every single older Australian deserves the very best care, and that's what our reforms have always sought to do. This is an important outcome for so many older Australians, their families and the sector, and I thank the Parliament for working with the government to ensure that we get it right.
The call to order. When the House comes to order, we'll hear from the honourable member for Robertson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and my question is to the Prime Minister. What contribution has former Australian of the Year Richard Scolyer made to cancer research and advocacy, and what steps has the government announced today to build on Professor Scolyer's work?
The call to the Prime Minister.
I thank the member for Robertson for his question. Just one of the people who brought his professional skills in the area of healthcare into this Parliament, and the Parliament's better for it. Today I was very honoured to once again meet with the 2024 Australian of the Year, Professor Richard Scolyer. We announced $5.9 million to establish the Richard Scolyer Chair in Brain Cancer Research at the Chris O'Brien Lifehouse in Sydney, together with Gail O'Brien, Chris O'Brien's widow. This investment will support a number of research positions, including a professorial chair, as well as postdoctoral research fellows, research assistants and PhD scholarships, along with research costs. That'll be rolled out in conjunction with the Royal Prince Alfred Hospital and the University of Sydney. Professor Richard Scolyer is an extraordinary Australian, a humble man who has achieved so much. And for so many Australians, his story has resonated so deeply. A renowned pathologist, a melanoma researcher who's made remarkable contributions to Australian medical research. The first in the world to receive an experimental treatment approach adapted from his own melanoma immunotherapy research, becoming both a patient and a research subject. Together with his other Australian of the Year recipient, his research partner, Professor Georgina Long, he represents the very best of this country. Someone who has brought skill, tenacity and courage, someone who always thinks of others. And indeed, even today, he was suggesting that the chair in brain cancer research shouldn't be named after him. It says so much about his character and the fact he is just always thinking of others. Even after being diagnosed with brain cancer in 2023, he continues to think about how he can make a difference while going through what is a very difficult period. He continues to be an advocate and continues to show leadership, and the courage that he has shown as an inspiration for all Australians, including every member of this House. This announcement means that we can continue to stay at the forefront of the fight against cancer. We can continue to train the world's best researchers, and we can continue Professor Scolier's vital work.
Call to the Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Aged Care. The Minister has repeatedly claimed that there were, quote, around 87,000 people waiting for a home care package as at the 31st of March. But moments ago in the Senate, the government admitted that the waitlist crisis has worsened significantly. Senator McAllister confirmed that as at 31 July, there are almost 109,000 elderly Australians waiting, another 20,000 in the queue. When did the Minister or his office become aware of this number, and why didn't he provide it to the House?
Call to the Minister for Aged Care and the Minister for Seniors.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There is an established process for verifying and releasing data as it pertains to the National Priority System waitlist. At the end of March, around 87,000 people were on the National Priority System waitlist, and we're releasing more than 2,000 home care packages every week up to this point to deal with that question. There is, as I said, a process of verification because the government does not want to release incorrect information when it comes to the National Priority System. It's a long-standing process that was the same as was managed under the previous government. And I again refer the Leader of the Opposition to the numbers that I have given repeatedly throughout this.
Minister's concluded his answer. Well, the Minister's concluded his answer, so I'll take the point of order.
Practice makes clear that if the Minister is aware of an incorrection on an answer, they come forward. The Minister for Housing did that yesterday on an answer. The Minister has not corrected his answer and has been given an earliest opportunity to do so. Why hasn't he corrected his answer?
Well, that's not a point of order. That's, if you wish to raise that, there are other forms of the House to do that. That's order. Order. That's fine. Well, order. When the House comes to order, we'll hear from the member for Gorton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Health. What action is the Albanese Labor government taking to improve the health of Australian women? Why is this such an important priority for the government?
Call to the Minister for Aged Care and Seniors and the Minister for the NDIS.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker, and thank you to the member for Gorton for that question and for joining us and so many other female colleagues of the Labor Party this morning to celebrate Women's Health Week this week. Also to join Assistant Minister White, who has responsibility for delivering the government's women's health agenda, Assistant Minister Carney, who crafted that agenda, and to the wonderful Robin Smith, a terrific advocate, powerful advocate for better women's health, who told her powerful story of going through menopause early in life after removing her ovaries and fallopian tubes to protect against a very high risk that she has of inherited cancer. A group of women, Mr. Speaker, channeling the voices of literally millions of Australians women who remind us that you cannot be serious about strengthening Medicare without being serious about strengthening women's health, because women consume about 60% of health services in this country, Mr. Speaker, often not because they're sick,
but just because they are women, managing their own and by extension their families' reproductive health and planning, or because they're going through menopause and perimenopause. And the truth is, Mr. Speaker, for decades, Australia's women had not been getting the support that they deserved and that they needed. There had not been a new oral contraceptive pill put onto the PBS for more than 30 years, not a new medicine for endometriosis for more than 30 years, not a new menopause hormone treatment for more than 20 years, Mr. Speaker, forcing Australia's women to pay top dollar for the best medicines available on the market. Well, we changed that, Mr. Speaker. We changed that. And this past year, we've listed 3 cutting-edge oral contraceptive pills, 3 cutting-edge menopause hormone treatments, and 2 cutting-edge medicines to treat endometriosis, Mr. Speaker, saving women millions and millions of dollars they shouldn't have been paying in the first place, Mr. Speaker. And already I'm pleased to report that since those listings, 365,000 Australian women have accessed more than 700,000 cheaper scripts as a direct result of the decisions that we took. And on the 1st of July, Mr. Speaker, as part of our package, we also introduced a new, longer, much better funded GP consult service to support women going through menopause and perimenopause, to ensure that women at that point in their life got the best possible information, advice and support, which frankly had not been happening enough in years gone by. And already, I'm really pleased to report that in just 9 weeks, more than 20,000 Australian women have taken up that new opportunity, Mr. Speaker. There are many more measures to take effect from our women's health package later this year, but already our determination to strengthen women's health is making a real difference.
Before I call the honourable member for Wentworth, I'll just do a quick couple of acknowledgements. I'm pleased to inform the House that present at the gallery today are members of the Afghanistan women's cricket team who are here today for World Vision Australia's 1,000 Voices for 1,000 Girls campaign. Also representatives of Suicide Prevention Australia who are here for the World Suicide Prevention Day on September 10. The mayors of Fremantle, Councillor Hannah Fitz-Harding in the electorate of Fremantle, and Mr Matt Nikula, the Shire President of Exmouth, and Natalie Moyer from Kalbarri in the mighty electorate of Durack. I'll give the call to the honourable member for Wentworth.
My question is for the Prime Minister. The Attorney-General has asked us to be open-minded to the government's proposed freedom of information reforms as a step towards greater transparency. I might be more trusting if the government showed greater commitment to other transparency measures. Publishing ministerial diaries and disclosing sponsored parliamentary Orange Pass holders, as the crossbench has repeatedly urged, would demonstrate real commitment to transparency. When will the government commit to these reforms?
Give the call to the Prime Minister.
I thank the member for Wentworth for her question and for her engagement on this issue, including yesterday, I think it was, when we had a meeting with other members about these issues. I say with regard to other reforms coming on top of our creation of a National Anti-Corruption Commission and other reforms that we have already introduced. Today, the Attorney-General has announced consultation on stage 2 of public sector whistleblower reforms. That will be important going forward. As I indicated, that would come forward. Freedom of information is a vital part of our democracy, but right now the FOI system is broken. The current framework is stuck in the 1980s, and this was before new technology was there, before email, before smartphones, and we need to keep up with that. Last year, public servants spent more than 1 million hours processing FOIs, not doing policy, not helping people out there with their issues, but going through FOIs.
Members on my left.
And
members on my left are going to cease. The member for Latrobe, I was just asking the House, that is not an appropriate way to use when I'm addressing the House. You'll leave the chamber under 94A. Order. People are going to interject. Trust me, when I'm addressing the House is not the time to do it. The member was given the courtesy of silence for her question, the same courtesy is going to be given to the Prime Minister, who's updating the House, which I think everyone wants to hear the answer. The Prime Minister has the call.
There are real issues with the current system. One is the anonymous nature of requests, FOI applications. Anyone can set up a Gmail address. It could be someone backed by a foreign government seeking interference, and we do not know. Just last week, we
Order.
expelled the Iranian ambassador, and certainly the Jewish community, including the Jewish Board of Deputies, have made representations about some of the FOI applications that go to security, for example, around Jewish synagogues, Jewish schools, and other areas as well. The anonymous nature of applications coming forward is an issue, as is, of course, application fees. Every state and territory other than the ACT has an initial
Member for
FOI
Goldstein and the
application
member for
fee.
Hume. Order. When this information is being provided to members, this is not an opportunity just to continue to keep conversations going across the chamber. So just going to give everyone one more chance. And if it continues, people are just going to leave. Prime Minister has the call.
The opposition knows that charges are already part of the FOI system, but under the proposals which we're putting forward, there won't be any application fee for people's own personal information, and waivers will be provided for financial hardship. In addition to that, we'll make sure as well the issues such as the eSafety Commissioner, who, for example, in 2023-24, saw a more than 2,000% increase in FOI requests compared to the previous year. Artificial intelligence means that it is possible for someone who wants to disrupt an agency completely and bring it to a halt is able to do so. Governments have to respond to changes of technology. That is what we are doing.
The call to the honourable member for Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Women. How is the Albanese Labor government supporting women's health?
Give the call to the Minister for Infrastructure, Transport, Regional Development, Local Government, representing the Minister for Women.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And can I thank the fabulous member for Dixon for her question, her advocacy for women. She is such an important member of this place, and I'm very proud to have her here. This week, of course, is Women's Health Week. It's an important reminder to all of us of the issues that affect over half of our population, and it is time to reflect on the work that's been done, and of course there is always more to do. This government is a government that backs women, whether it is in our workplaces, in our communities, and of course in our healthcare system. And I want to recognise the work of Assistant Minister White and of course Assistant Minister Kenny, who before her worked on this package. It's why we've delivered the most significant investment in women's health in decades. We know that women deserve access to the healthcare that they need. Through strengthening Medicare, delivering cheaper medicines, this investment means more choice, lower costs and better healthcare for women across the country at all stages of their life. We committed over $790 million for a women's health package. Prescriptions for oral contraceptives has been part of that package, and they are, of course, making a real difference across our community. Since the 1st of May, as the Minister said, we've seen over 365,000 patients access more than 715 prescriptions for oral contraceptives, menopause hormone therapies, and endometriosis treatments. That is a huge number of patients accessing those treatments. We've listed new contraceptives on the PBS for the first time in 30 years, making it cheaper and much easier for women to actually access long-lasting contraceptive. Before the listings of Yaza, Yasmin and Slinda on the PBS, women were paying around $380 a year for their contraception. They are now paying half that and, of course, much less, around $30.80 if they're a concession card holder. Before the listings of Estrogel, Prometrium and Estrogel Pro on the PBS, women might have paid again up to $670 a year. Now they're paying only $31.60 a script. Again, a really enormous cost of living relief for women and to access healthcare. We know that already more than 20,000 women have taken up the new perimenopausal and menopause health assessments since they were subsidised just on the 1st of July. The opening of the 22 endometriosis clinics, pelvic pain clinics, with 11 more to come, and expanding all 33 clinics has been, again, an enormous benefit to women across the country. And of course, from the 1st of January, seeing every prescription listed on the PBS costing no more than $25, all targeted at helping and supporting women's health. We've listened to women's health needs, and now we're getting on with the job of actually delivering.
Call to the Honourable the Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. I refer to reports in The Australian that government officials are helping to bring ISIS terrorist brides to Australia. Prime Minister, these are not ordinary citizens. They chose to align with a barbaric death cult that glorified mass murder, sold women and girls into slavery, and cheered the slaughter of innocents. What actions has your government taken to guarantee the safety of Australians if these people return?
Call to the Prime Minister.
Those reports are not accurate.
Call to the member for McNamara.
Very much, Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Education. What is the Albanese Labor government doing to train more nurses and doctors to strengthen Medicare for decades to come?
Give a call to the Minister for Education.
Thanks very much, Mr Speaker, and can I thank my friend, the member for McNamara, for his question. Mr Speaker, he is magnificent, that's a good point. Magnificent member for McNamara for his question. Mr Speaker, we need more nurses and we need more midwives too. These are people who've signed up to do some of the most important jobs in this country. People who will look after us when we're sick, help women during childbirth. And a big part of their university degree is practical training, and it can sometimes be very difficult. I'll just give you one example. For a lot of nursing students, they often work while they're studying part-time at a local hospital as an assistant in nursing. And when they do their prac, it's often at the same hospital, and they have to give up their paid part-time job to do it. And so that can cause financial difficulties. It can mean that sometimes they don't have the money they need to pay for parking, to pay for public transport, or to pay for petrol. The good news, Mr Speaker, is that paid prac has now started. We promised it and we're delivering it. It's real cost of living help, real practical help for the practical part of the university degree. For nursing students, midwifery students, for teaching students and social work students as well. It started on the 1st of July, and I can advise the House that already more than 30,000 people have applied to get it. Mr Speaker, we need more nurses, but as the member for McNamara asked, we need more doctors too. And in the election, we promised to set up a new medical school at Queensland University of Technology. We promised it, and we're delivering it. I can advise the House that it will start training doctors from 2027. We also promised to deliver end-to-end medical training in Launceston at the University of Tasmania, so medical students can complete their whole degree in Launceston. We promised it, and we're delivering it. It will start from next year, 2026. We also promised to set up a new medical school at Charles Darwin University in the Northern Territory. We promised it and we're delivering it. It'll start from next year too. And we also promised in the election to roll out 100 extra medical Commonwealth supported places next year. Universities will be able to bid for these extra places, and applications for them opened last week. The focus here is on training more GPs. It's all part of strengthening Medicare. It's part of the biggest investment in Medicare ever to make it easier to see a doctor for free. We promised to train more doctors to do it, and we are delivering it.
Call to the honourable member for Canning.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister, and I refer to the aforementioned reports in The Australian and your previous answer. Is the Prime Minister aware of any info that suggests ISIS brides are seeking to return to Australia? And is your government making preparations to receive them?
The call to the Prime Minister.
I refer to my previous answer.
The call to the honourable member for McEwen.
My question is to the Attorney-General. What is the Albanese Labor government doing to improve efficiency, effectiveness of integrity and transparency frameworks?
The call to the Attorney-General.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the member for his question. Today, the Albanese government has introduced new legislation to reform the Freedom of Information Act 1982. Freedom of information is a vital feature of our democracy. It provides transparency and accountability of government and enables Australians to access their personal information. However, it is absolutely the case, as the Prime Minister has said, that the Freedom of Information Act remains stuck in the 1980s, well before the widespread use of email or more recent advances in artificial intelligence. And you will not find a stakeholder who says the system works well, so clearly reform is needed. That is why the legislation introduced today seeks to ban anonymous requests, stop abuses of the framework by vexatious and frivolous requests, make the law clearer when it comes to cabinet and deliberative material exemptions, and establish procedures for the handling of records of former ministers. Mr Speaker, let me give you an example of why the current system is broken. In one instance, a small agency received nearly 600 FOI requests in a short period of time from an automated generator. This resulted in the diversion of an entire public service team from their work for more than 3 months. Now, Mr Speaker, you may ask who that agency is. That agency was eSafety, whose core mission is to keep Australian children safe online. Hardworking taxpayers who already fund over 1 million hours a year on FOI processing would expect eSafety to be focused on their task of protecting children rather than processing a mountain of frivolous FOI requests from online trolls. The Albanese government will also not continue to tolerate a framework which allows offshore actors whose capabilities are enhanced with artificial intelligence to anonymously lodge FOI requests seeking information held by the Australian government. The idea that our laws could permit a foreign state to anonymously seek access to information about recent government decisions without us even knowing it is simply untenable. The government will refer its FOI legislation to the Senate Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee for scrutiny and continue to engage across the Parliament and stakeholders on these reforms. Mr Speaker, FOI also forms part of a broader transparency and integrity framework which this government is continuing to strengthen. The government is delivering on its commitment to continue to enhance Australia's public sector whistleblowing framework. These reforms will establish a new whistleblower ombudsman, which will be the most significant addition to the federal integrity landscape since this government established the National Anti-Corruption Commission. And following consultation, we intend to introduce legislation into the Parliament as soon as possible. The Albanese government is committed to progressing reforms that improve the efficiency and effectiveness of our integrity frameworks.
Give the call to the honourable member for Hume.
Prime Minister, today, to Australia's shame, Daniel Andrews attended a Chinese Communist Party military parade alongside dictators Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un and the Iranian president. Former Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk described Mr Andrews' attendance as a bridge too far. Will the Prime Minister echo her condemnation? Did the Prime Minister or his office provide any personal or consular assistance for the visit?
Order. The member for Chifley is warned. The Prime Minister has the call.
At the 70th anniversary, 10 years ago, the former government sent a Liberal minister, Michael Ronaldson, to represent the Australian government. I understand that Australian embassy officials will formally represent Australia this time. Last month, on the 15th of August, I attended a commemoration for victory in the Pacific Day in Martin Place, along with the Leader of the Opposition. It is on that day that we commemorate the end of the war in the Pacific in Australia. In that case, we celebrate it on the day of the surrender of the Japanese forces. We also, on that day, celebrate the courage and sacrifice of all those Australians who served. And I can confirm it was a very moving occasion, as these occasions always are when we honour the men and women who wear a uniform.
Order. Order. Members on my left, before I call the member for Blair, I just want to do some acknowledgements in the chamber. I'm pleased to inform the House that present in the gallery, the member for Hume, I'm trying to acknowledge guests in the gallery. I'm pleased to inform the House that present in the gallery today is a delegation from the Parliament of Kiribatis Public Accounts Committee, led by the Honourable Tarakombu Tufangpa, and also a bienvenue to the Senate delegation from the French-Australia Parliamentary Friendship Group and members of the Fairley Leadership Program from the Goulburn and Murray Valleys in the electorate of Nichols. Welcome to you all. Give the call to the member for Blair.
Speaker, my question is to the Minister for Health. How is the Albanese Labor government delivering generational reforms to aged care after a decade of cuts and neglect?
Order. Give the call to the Minister for Health, Aged Care and the Minister for the DIS.
Thank you, Speaker. I thank the member for Blair. He knows aged care well, having held the portfolio for Labor for a number of years, and he knows that we, on this side of the House, over the last few years, have had no higher priority than strengthening Medicare and strengthening aged care. Because, Mr. Speaker, aged care, when we came to government, was in the worst state it had been in the more than 30 years that I have been working with that sector. Tragically summed up by the Royal Commission in one word, their title to their interim report, which was neglect. And we were utterly determined to turn that around. Mr. Speaker, I don't think there was a single policy area where we made decisions to invest more money in the last term than in aged care, to deliver RN 24/7, registered nurses on shift all the time. They said it couldn't be done, and we've delivered it, Mr. Speaker, to deliver more care minutes to every aged care resident, to deliver better wages to aged care workers, to allow providers to recruit and retain the workers we need, to provide better food in aged care facilities, and, Mr. Speaker, to provide more home care packages. In the 23 budget, we did it. In the 24 budget, we did it. In the 24 MyEFO, we did it. Thousands more home care packages, as well as the 83,000 new supported home care packages, which I think I said yesterday were in the 25 budget, but they're actually even earlier in the 2024 MyEFO to be rolled out over the course of 25-26. The pace of reform has been unprecedented, Mr. Speaker, and the need for it has been acute.
Order.
Because those opposite did worse than nothing.
Just going to pause. I can't hear the minister because the member for Lyne is continually interjecting. So, no more interjections from the member for Lyne. Because I want to hear what the minister's saying.
Because those opposite, Mr. Speaker, did worse than nothing. In 2012, we set up a rolling process of reforms that I agreed with Mr. Dutton that would get this sector ready for the ageing of the baby boomer generation. A rolling series of reforms that was derailed in the middle of the last decade. And I wonder, Mr. Speaker, who the minister was when that was all derailed. I wonder who the minister was. I wonder who the minister was who failed to deliver the mid-decade reform that was set out in that 2012 piece of legislation that I agreed with Mr. Dutton.
Member
I
for
wonder
Fisher.
who the minister was who in her entire tenure did not deliver a single additional home care package, a big fat donut. I wonder who the minister was who cut aged care funding to the residential sector, not once, but twice in a relatively short tenure as aged care minister. $1.2 billion in the 2016 budget, $500 million in the 2015 MyEFO. I wonder who that was. I have appreciated the dialogue we've had with Senator Ruston last year and to deliver the deal that will get this legislation through this week, Mr. Speaker. The Leader of the Opposition doesn't have that authority.
Call to the member for Warringah.
To the Treasurer, climate change is projected to cost the economy up to $76 billion by 2060. per year, making it one of the biggest threats to national productivity. The government has not released the National Risk Assessment nor the ONI report, and is continuing to approve projects that will make this economic risk worse. You did not have adaptation or resilience at the table when it came to the Economic Reform Roundtable. What can you tell the Australian people of the financial exposure to climate risk to the economy?
Call to the Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and thank you to the member for Warringah for her important question. The exposure is substantial, and that's why it was part of the discussions at the Economic Reform Roundtable. It's why we had the Conservation Foundation there. It's why we had Ken Henry there for that and other reasons. It's front of mind for the government. I've been working very closely with the Minister for Climate Change and Energy on the risk and adaptation part of our climate change agenda. You're right to point out that it has very close alignment with all of our broader economic considerations as well. I spent a lot of time with the Minister on this question. He has said publicly, I believe, that we'll be releasing the risk and adaptation work this month, September of 2025. And when that happens, I'll be part of that because we work very closely together on it. And when we release that important work, I welcome the contribution from the member for Warringah. These are important issues and they do have a lot of economic consequences attached to them.
Call to the honourable member for Bullwinkle.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is also to the Treasurer. What do today's national accounts tell us about our economy?
Give the call to the Treasurer.
Thanks, Mr Speaker, and thanks to the new member for Bullwinkle for her important question and for all of her work in this place already as a new member of Parliament, focused on the most important issues, Mr Speaker. The numbers we got today in the national accounts were very encouraging and they were very welcome. The numbers came in better than what almost all economists were expecting today. We saw growth in the quarter of 0.6. We saw through the year growth of 1.8. That beat expectations on both fronts, Mr Speaker, and that's a very good thing. Our economy is gathering pace and it's gathering momentum. We have seen in our economy in the data released today for the June quarter a very welcome and a substantial pickup in economic growth in our economy, and that's important. Now, the big story in the national accounts today was the pickup and the recovery in the private sector in particular. And this is the recovery in the private sector that we've been planning for and preparing for and frankly hoping for, Mr Speaker, to see the private sector make the contribution to growth in the numbers today again was very welcome. And the reason why the private sector is recovering, the reason why that's feeding through to the biggest contributor to growth in the quarter, which was consumption, is because this government has worked diligently every single day to lift wages and lift incomes in our economy, Mr Speaker. And that's what's driving the improvement in growth in the numbers that were released today. Consumption is recovering in our economy because incomes are recovering in our economy. And I can hear them chirping away, Mr Speaker. They should chirp up and say that when we came to office, real wages were falling, living standards were falling, the measure of per person incomes was falling, inflation was rising, interest rates were already going up, and we have been turning all of that around, Mr Speaker. The reason incomes are growing in our economy is because, and living standards too, is because of that combination of our tax cuts and our wage rises combined with the Reserve Bank's 3 interest rate cuts in 6 months, Mr Speaker. And because of our efforts, the wages share of national income is now 54%. When we came to office, the wages share of national income was less than half. Now it's 54%. That's not accidental, Mr Speaker. That is deliberate. We have got in our economy now the equal, fastest through-the-year economic growth compared with any major advanced economy. And we've got much faster employment growth than any major advanced economy. So these are very welcome. They are very encouraging numbers. They show the progress that we've made together. They've shown that we've been delivering on all of the things we identified as the government's priorities, but we know that there's still more work to do. I'll give the call to the member for Hume.
My question is to the Prime Minister. Will the Prime Minister condemn his close personal friend, Daniel Andrews, attending the Chinese Communist Party military parade alongside the presidents of Russia, North Korea and Iran?
The Prime Minister's got to be asked questions that he's directly responsible for. Well, there is some difficulties. There is some difficulties with that. The question falling within the standing orders. If you think of it to its logical conclusion, it could be asked about any Australian. But I'm going to hear from the Leader of the House to assist.
The point of order. The fundamental rule for questions is they have to be something that the Prime Minister is officially connected with. By definition and the way that was framed, he said it's not.
If we could have the question to... All right, I'll hear from the Manager of Opposition Business.
Well, the point of order is the Prime Minister is officially connected with Australia. He is the Prime Minister. Yeah, that's an official connection. It's official connection. So we've invited him to condemn a former Premier attending a foreign affairs rally, and that's the point of order. Yeah.
Okay. The Prime Minister looks like he's indicating that he's okay to answer the question, but I was going to ask him to rephrase, but just a bit of a learned lesson for everyone. If we make it directly responsible for someone's responsibilities, just to help the House, but the Prime Minister has the call.
I think that point of order said it all about the question, Mr. Speaker. I'm responsible for the Australian government. The Australian government did have a representative there, and the Australian government did have a representative 10 years ago. That was a minister in the government. Our government chose that that would not be the case.
Call to the honourable member for Deakin.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Employment and Workplace Relations. How is the Albanese government delivering on its commitment to help Aussie workers earn more and keep more of what they earn? And how is this different from other approaches?
Call to the Minister for Employment and the Minister for Workplace Relations.
Well, thank you, Speaker, and I'd like to thank the fabulous member for Deakin for his question. It was wonderful recently to visit with him essential workers in Eastland, where we got to hear about how important the government's policies are to them. Of course, the Albanese Labor government was elected on a commitment to get wages moving after a decade of deliberate wage suppression under those opposite. Now, we have delivered significant changes to our workplace laws to deliver on our commitment to get wages moving. Our Secure Jobs, Better Pay changes have reinvigorated enterprise bargaining and put gender equality at the heart of our workplace laws. Of course, these changes are seeing more workers than ever before be covered by enterprise agreements, delivering real wage increases. The gender pay gap is now at a record low of 11.5%, and working women are earning on average an additional $250 a week. Our closing loophole changes have stopped the underpayment of labour hire workers, and many are earning thousands of dollars more. We've delivered on our commitment to make a submission to the Fair Work Commission for a real wage increase for almost 3 million workers who rely on minimum award wages. And we've made a submission every single year since we've been in government. Now, when this commitment was first made by our Prime Minister while in opposition, those opposite labelled it reckless. Well, this side of Parliament does not view backing Aussie workers as reckless. Now the lowest paid workers on minimum wages are earning more than $175 per week on average, more than when we came to government. And our government has also acted to protect award-reliant workers when they were faced with a real chance of losing their penalty rates. Now, this, of course, is a clear contrast to the coalition when they were in government that stood by and did nothing to protect penalty rates when they were taken away in 2017. The government is committed to getting wages moving, and we have recorded the strongest annual real wages growth in 5 years, and real wages have been growing for 7 consecutive quarters. Since coming to government, Aussie workers are benefiting from an average of an additional $9,000 per year in their pay packets. This Labor government is delivering for working people. We're delivering to get wages moving and making sure Aussies are earning more.
Give the call to the member for Ryan.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. The International Association of Genocide Scholars this week voted overwhelmingly in favour of a motion stating that Israel's actions in Gaza fit the definition of genocide under international law and calling on states like Australia to uphold our obligations under the Genocide Convention. Will your government finally acknowledge that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza?
Call to the Prime Minister.
I note that there are processes before the ICJ and that people will have different views, but those processes are legal processes, and what we do as a responsible government is allow legal processes to take their course. What I would say about the situation in the Middle East is that my government has been consistent. We have been consistent since the terrorist atrocity that Hamas committed on October 7 in calling that out for what it was. We've been consistent in calling for the release of hostages. We've been consistent in calling for a ceasefire and for innocent civilians to be protected. I must say that the resolution that was carried with the support of the major parties in this House has stood the test of time quite well. It called for international law to be upheld. It called for innocent people, whether they be Israelis or Palestinians, to be protected. We have called out issues in Gaza with regard to a failure to adequately provide food and essential aid there. We have called out, for example, the double tap that occurred at the hospital in Khan Yunis for what it was that saw the loss of life of journalists as well as doctors and nurses and people providing assistance there. We have continued to take a principled position that has resulted in criticism from all sides of this debate. But it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do for the role that we play internationally. It's the right thing to do to work towards a long-term solution where both Israelis and Palestinians can live side by side in peace and security, where Israel can continue to exist as a majority Jewish state, providing a homeland for the Jewish people, but where the legitimate aspirations of Palestinian people for their own state can be realised. That is something that I have held throughout my political life, and indeed before I came to this Parliament. And that is something that our government will continue to do. We'll continue to be a strong advocate, regardless of criticism that is thrown at us, regardless of the misinformation which is put out there. For example, we do not fund or provide arms to the State of Israel. We are not a participant in this conflict. What Australians want to see is two things. They want to see the killing stop. They want to see, whether they be Israelis or Palestinians, and the second thing that they want is for conflict to not be brought here.
Call to the honourable member for Brudden.
My question is to the Minister for Climate Change and Energy. What progress is the Albanese Labor government making on clean energy, and what are the risks?
Call to the Minister for Climate Change and Energy.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank everyone's favourite member for Braddon for the question, Mr. Speaker. And I thank her for her leadership in Tasmania. And yesterday, the Prime Minister and I told the House that 44,000 Australians had installed a home battery under the Cheaper Home Battery Scheme. Today, I can tell the House 46,052. A big lift, a big jump today. 46,052 families have introduced cheaper home batteries to their households. And just as the nation is getting on with the job of batteries, we are getting on with the job of the battery of the nation. And the battery of the nation is the state of Tasmania, Mr. Speaker. And I'm pleased to announce and tell the House that today the Albanese government, the Allen government, and the Rockcliffe government have reached financial close on the Marinus Link. Now, the Marinus Link has been talked about for decades, and this government is delivering the Marinus Link. And I want to thank Ministers D'Ambrosio and Daigan, the two state ministers who work with me to make this reality. This link will unlock billions of dollars of investment in Tasmania and will create enough renewable energy to power 750,000 homes right across Australia, Mr. Speaker, creating jobs for Tasmanians in particular. So that's a good thing. Now, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member asked me about risks, and one of the risks is people who used to support transmission and support things like the Marinus Link, but now say they oppose it. So, for example, Mr. Speaker, I imagine the member for Hume welcomes the Marinus Link announcement because he once spruiked it. He once talked about the Marinus Link, and in fact, in September 2021, he not only said his budget supported Marinus Link, he boasted it supported Tasmania's Marinus Link, VNI West, and Project Energy Connect, Mr. Speaker. All projects they now oppose and promote rallies against, Mr. Speaker. That's what they do now. That's a significant risk to the transition. If you can't actually believe in something, you can't actually follow it through. The member for Hume's defence is, yeah, I supported transmission lines. I just never built one, which is a fair defence, Mr. Speaker. He never actually got around to building one. They just talked about how good they were. They just kept announcing it. It's this government that is today announcing the next big step on Marinus Link, and we'll continue to make progress. And the honourable member asked me about risks, and again, we see more of the perfectly normal policy development on the other side. We've heard about the member for Hume. We've also heard from Senator Hume today, who's took to social media to declare that she's not for turning when it comes to net zero. She's fully in favour of it, and pointing out, she had to go to Instagram to point out that she's a member of the Liberal Party, not the Advance Australia Party. Well, at least she can make that claim. I'm not sure that all those opposite could make that claim, Mr. Speaker. Senator Hume, and she's been supported by the member for Flinders and Senator Bragg and others, and good on them for standing up for net zero. They're in a small minority, but on this side of the House, we're going to keep going with the job of delivering for Australians with batteries big and small.
Called the member for Mallee.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister told the Bush Summit, and I quote, "I won't BS people." The Prime Minister promised Australians a $275 reduction in their energy bills prior to the 2022 election. Hasn't that now proven to be BS? Is this broken promise the reason why the Prime Minister was chased out of town by a convoy of tractors?
Order. The Prime Minister has the call. Order. The Minister for Infrastructure will cease interjecting. The Prime Minister has the
Thanks
call.
very much, Mr. Speaker. I did attend a meeting in Ballarat last week, and I attended a meeting in Wagga Wagga as well. And I attend regularly regional events. And when I do, I inform the members, as the member for Page would know, as the member for Maranoa would know, as the member for Riverina would know. And indeed, I took the member for Riverina to the event in his electorate last week. I have attended an event with the member for Mallee where I opened a local community infrastructure at the invitation of the local council. There were schools there because it was the first time a Prime Minister had visited Horsham, a small community, in some 40 years. There were school children there. There were lots of people there. The member for Mallee, I rang up, invited to come along. The member for Mallee chose to organise people to come along and yell with loud hailers and to disrupt.
That's what the member for Mallee is doing.
And to disrupt the event.
Order. Members on my right. Members on my left. The member for Gippsland, the member for Moncrief, and the leader of the Nationals.
And I was fine with that, as I was last week when I engaged in one-on-one discussions. But I do make this point.
Order.
Yesterday, a neo-Nazi crashed the events with the Victorian
The
Premier.
leader of the Nationals. Order. The leader of the Nationals is going to cease interjecting. Order.
I'll tell you what is dangerous. What is dangerous is encouraging, and indeed I was there, as was the member for Marinara. He knows that the Australian Federal Police had organised a cut-off area.
Order. The leader of the Nationals cannot just continue to keep yelling like that.
A cut-off area, so that indeed no one was chased, as the member put it in her question. Indeed, because of the presence of the AFP, I attended a dinner the night before. I went around all of the tables and discussed that with farmers.
Order. When the House comes to order, the Prime Minister is directly answering the question about the event that he was asked about in the question. It's impossible to raise a point of order on relevance. So, Member for Mallee, when the Prime Minister is answering the question exactly that you've been asked about the rally that he attended and what he said and what he did, I'm going to ask you to reconsider if it's not on point of order on relevance, because it can't be, for the reasons I've just outlined. I think everyone can see that. So, the member for Mallee.
Thank you. It is on relevance.
Right, resume your seat. Resume your seat. Resume your seat. No, order. No, we're going to deal with this. Speakers in the past, and I'm happy to go through that with any member who requests, have denied points of order. I'm willing to give people a fair go, but if you've asked about a question and he's answering it directly, or any minister, when people go off topic, I understand, but not when he's giving specific answers. That's just ridiculous. The Prime Minister has the call.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I'll tell you what is dangerous. It's the encouragement of an event where someone stands on a chair in the second row with a noose around their neck at a time when people taking their own life is a really serious issue. All I would say is this: I'm always prepared to front up. I front up in seats right across this parliament. I front up outside my electorate office, which a demonstration's a lot more willing than what was there in Ballarat the other day, let me tell you. I front up when coffins are brought to the front of my office with my name on it, and front up and address those people, and I address them respectfully. But I say this, Mr. Speaker, to the Parliament: you need to be responsible.
Order. Order. Give the call to the member for Macon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my question is to the Minister for Defence Industry. How is the Albanese Labor government growing Australia's defence industrial base, supporting jobs and building a future made in Australia? Why is this important after a wasted decade?
Give the call to the Minister for Defence Industry and the Minister for Pacific Island Affairs.
I thank the member for his question. Mr. Speaker, Australia faces the most challenging strategic environment since 1945. And that's why the Albanese Labor government is investing record amounts in the Australian defence industry to keep Australians safe and deliver a future made in Australia. And I'm delighted to inform the House that according to the latest statistics, the industry grew by 12.5% and jobs grew in that sector by almost 10%. And this investment is guided by the lessons from recent conflicts, including that we don't just need the right equipment, we need the ability to make this equipment in Australia. And Mr. Speaker, there's no better example of this than the Albanese government's $10 billion plan for drone and counter-drone technologies. Last month, I announced our plan to acquire $1.3 billion worth of drone defences for the Australian Defence Force. Importantly, this will involve many innovative Australian companies, like Acacia Systems in Adelaide, which I recently visited. Their homegrown technology will be the brains of the ADF drone defence. Speaker, we're also designing and making drones in Australia. Take a look at Ghost Shark, delivered on budget and ahead of schedule. Or Ghost Bat, the first aircraft to be designed and made in Australia in over 50 years. So, Speaker, we're growing capabilities for the ADF, we're growing jobs, and we're growing sovereignty and self-reliance for Australia. Our record stands in stark contrast to the Coalition's wasted decade where they failed to support our local industry. Under them, they cancelled the only armed drone project and delivered 0 drone defences for this country. Under us, we're delivering both armed drones and drone defences for the ADF. Under them, they closed 2 shipyards, costing thousands of Aussie jobs. Under us, we're delivering continuous naval shipbuilding in Western Australia and SA, supporting over 10,000 jobs. Under them, all they did for missile manufacturing was 2 media releases. Under us, we're building 2 missile factories, and this year, Aussie workers will start making missiles in this country. Under their plan, no major warships for the Navy under 2034. Under us, 4 new warships in that time, with the first delivered this decade. Speaker, unlike those opposite, we support Aussie workers and manufacturing, and that's why the Albanese government is backing a defence future made in Australia. In contrast, as question time again demonstrated, those on the opposite side can't be trusted on defence, can't be trusted on national security, and always go the low road.
Give the call to the honourable member for Kooyong.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Climate Change and Energy. The government is currently undertaking a gas market review with the premise that we need new gas production for our domestic needs. However, only 16% of Australian LNG was sold to the domestic market last year. The rest was exported. More than enough gas for our domestic needs is sold daily on the spot market and exported. Why is the government supporting more gas projects when we have more than enough already? And when will you intervene to protect our access to our own gas resources?
Give the call to the Minister for Climate Change and Energy.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I thank the honourable member for the question, and the Minister for Resources and I are conducting a review into our gas policy settings, as is very necessary, because we believe that Australian industry, Australian heavy industry, and those Australian homes that use gas to heat their homes and the gas-fired power peaking stations that we have in the grid do require access to Australian gas at reasonable prices. And that's why we're undertaking that review in a careful, methodical way. We aren't doing as those opposite did and make a policy which was clearly said by the industry in hours wouldn't work. We're undertaking a very heavy consultation process. We've received many submissions already, which we're working through. The fundamental principle I don't accept as a premise to our review, other than the fundamental principle is that we do have a plentiful supply of gas in Australia, and we need to ensure that supply is available for Australian uses. And we will continue to make the point that gas is necessary to underpin our transition to renewables. It's a very flexible type of fuel. Gas-fired power stations can be turned on and off at very short notice, unlike coal and unlike nuclear. Heavy industry does rely on gas, and those 5 million Australian homes rely on gas. And for that purpose, we are undertaking the review. We have 3 policy mechanisms that are reaching the end of their scheduled life. It's appropriate that there be a full and comprehensive and methodical review, and that's exactly what the Minister for Resources and I are doing.
Give the call to the honourable member for Richmond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Housing, Homelessness and Cities. How is the Albanese Labor government delivering new social and affordable homes for Australians in need? Is the Minister aware of any obstacles?
Give the call to the Minister for Housing, the Minister for Homelessness and the Minister for Cities.
Thank you so much, Speaker, and I want to thank the member for her question. She represents an absolutely beautiful part of our great country, and it is a part of our nation which has some really specific housing challenges. And it's in part because of her really powerful advocacy that we have in Canberra today, an Australian government which has the boldest and most ambitious housing agenda that a Commonwealth government has had since the post-war period. Now, Speaker, this is bringing really meaningful change to the member for Richmond's constituents. Speaker, about 500 of the people that she represents have got the keys to their first home because of the Albanese government's backing. Speaker, there are 14,000 recipients of Commonwealth rent assistance in her community who are getting a 50%, almost a 50% increase on that payment because of our government. Now, Speaker, we absolutely recognise that housing is a life-defining challenge for many people around our country. We hear it from an entire younger generation who tell us in absolutely clear terms of the anger that they feel that they experience completely different housing opportunities than their parents and grandparents. And we hear it from parents too. They talk to us about the deep worry that they have that the younger people in their life are not going to have, they feel, the same financial future and security that they had. And of course, Speaker, we see it in all of our communities with that rising homeless population that is so distressing. Now, Speaker, our government has a $43 billion agenda which is targeting at addressing some of these issues. And under this Prime Minister and this government, we're building more homes, we're getting renters a better deal, and we are getting more Australians into home ownership. Now, a really important part of the work that we're doing, Speaker, is our efforts to build 55,000 desperately needed social and affordable homes right around our country. And our government, we are all about delivery, delivery, delivery. So, Speaker, I want to let the Parliament know that of those 50,000 new social and affordable homes, we've ticked over 5,000 of those homes already complete, many with tenants already in them, and we've got 25,000 of these homes in planning or construction today. Now, Speaker, I really want the Parliament to understand the scale of what we are undertaking here. Remember, our government delivering 55,000 social and affordable homes in 5 years, the Coalition in 9 long years delivering 373 homes for the country, Speaker. What an absolute disgrace. Now, we are getting it done, Speaker. In the member for Haslett's electorate, 537 new social and affordable homes. In the member for Fraser's electorate, 795 new homes. In Jagga, 711 new homes. In Adelaide, 680 new homes. And do you know how many new homes that the Coalition delivered in all of these electorates together, Speaker? Absolutely zero. It is no wonder we have so many housing challenges, Speaker, and we are getting on with the job of addressing the housing concerns that Australians so clearly have.
For the Prime Minister. Order. Prime Minister's the call.
Gonna go on the first dozen.
The,
Gonna go on the first
the
dozen.
member for Flynn will just cool his heels.
I say to the member for Flynn, see if he can get in the first 24, and we'll tomorrow, and we'll give you a crack. But on that basis, I ask that further questions be placed on notice paper.
The member for Mallee has indicated she is seeking a personal explanation. Does the member claim to be misrepresented?
Yes, I do
She
claim
may
to be
proceed.
misrepresented, most grievously.